Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tack. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky, they all look just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university, where they were put in boxes and they came out all the same. And there's doctors and there's lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky, they all look just the same. And they all play on the golf course and drink their martinis dry. They all have pretty children. The children go to school, and the children go to summer camp, and then to the university, where they are put in boxes. They come out all the same. And the boys go into business and marry and raise a family in boxes made of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Talking Electricity with LCKing. I'm your host, Good Times for All, or Zachary Zabala here if you prefer. And I am joined, as always, by one Mr. LCKing. Hey, Lucas, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Hey, not too bad. It was a pretty good week. How's everything on the outer edge? Weather still pretty nice out that way?
Yeah, it's still pretty nice, but it's cooler than average. But yeah, just got back from a week's worth of holidays. So, just got back home and sort of looking at my garden. It's gone to hell. So I'm got to get out there and get it under control again. But at least it's still alive. Yeah. Last time I left and it was too hot and all my tomatoes died, but this time it's all right. So I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah.
Nice. Well, you had a show you did with Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez, the doctor, earlier in the week. I caught that one. That was great, man. I really enjoyed it a lot. Great job.
Yeah, that was great. So we just sort of went over some of the model that I've been presenting, and it was sort of a spur of the moment thing, and had a nice conversation. Sort of got into some details that usually I don't speak about much. So it's worth having a listen if you're into the stuff that I present.
Yeah, I'll make sure to drop that link in the description below so people can go and check that out later. Yeah, cool. It was great conversation. I can't wait. I believe next week we're going to get into batteries, and that's like your area expertise, and kind of dig in a little bit deeper than you guys did and really get into the basics of just how a battery works. So I'm so excited about next week. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of where how I look at things through that sort of galvanic cell, the battery idea. So that is definitely what I've been researching for the past few years, I guess now.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys enjoy Lucas's work,
I'm going to pick his brain all week and just try to get the questions that aren't asked as much. And we're going to drill him next week. No offense, Lucas.
Mm-hmm. Good. Could put me to the test as well, because
Well, yeah,
I need it as well.
That's what you tell everybody. This isn't a set model that you have yet. You're wanting people to challenge it and give you new ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I want them to take it for themselves and then, research what I say and see if I'm correct, if I've made any mistakes. And a lot of the times I leave my older videos up where things have changed a little bit as I proceed further, just to show that, I'm still working through this and still trying to understand certain concepts and, just making it, clearer in my mind, and hopefully as time progresses, it becomes clearer in other people's minds as well. So yeah, it's still a working model. There's still so much to learn about how it actually applies to our world. And to me, there seems like there's lots of different areas where you could actually study certain parts of not just the whole operation, but once you understand the whole operation, you could really dive into certain parts of, these fundamental operations in nature and how it applies. So I think it's really exciting. It's just a different avenue that the flat Earth model can go, and people can take it and try and figure it out for themselves and help me and everyone else at the same time.
Yeah, I think you are on to one of the key pieces of the puzzle of trying to comprehend this place and really understand what's going on. And yeah, the more people hear about the galvanic cell and how it works and how you see the Earth as kind of a galvanic cell itself, I think that's going to really open up the floodgates of ideas. So yeah, great job, Lucas. Thanks for all the work you do, man.
Oh, that's my pleasure. I think it's exciting, and I just love looking at this stuff, and hopefully it sheds more light on the world around us, and raises us up to a higher level. But you made it in. We had a conversation earlier in the week, and I think it's pretty important to sort of describe it this way. So we're saying that looking at the world battery type thing, but that we're inside that battery, and how do we sort of put that sort of clicked for you?
Yeah, it's a battery that doesn't have the prongs on the outside to power something.
Yeah, exactly. So we're in a closed, from my viewpoint, we're in a closed system, and so the energy doesn't actually go. It's not like you've got a battery and then you're charging something else up. Rather, the energy stays within the system and feeds on itself.
Yeah, that clicked so big when we had that discussion earlier in the week. So yeah, excuse me, my brain's absolutely been just reeling thinking about this stuff. And I can't wait for all the different ideas to come pouring out of people.
Oh yeah, I mean,
exciting
people
times.
Take it further than me. I mean, I'm just I do the research, and
and
I
you
probably
play
don't have
too. You play.
Yeah, I just play with the ideas and see what comes out, and other people with maybe more of a scientific mind than my own will definitely, take it further than I can.
Well, yeah, one thing history has shown us, that a lot of the greatest ideas usually aren't on purpose, and a lot of them don't come from these, super educated scientific minds.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's the tinkerer that actually goes out and plays with it and isn't told what it's doing, but actually discovers what it's doing on their own.
Yeah, and the example for mine is, like, I was looking at the zodiac. I wasn't looking for a world battery. I was just looking at the zodiac and going, what are these old ancient sort of trying to tell us through this, sky clock type thing. And yeah, so I just, in a way, stumbled across it, and then it all sort of snowballed from there.
That's how most of these great things happen.
Yeah, it was cool.
Well, all right. Before we get into today's show, which is the power of plasma, we got some really cool stuff to show you guys this week. I, like every week, am going to bore you with a Walter Lewin video. It's him talking to his students for the first time about electricity and his 802 Electricity and Magnetism course from MIT. Walter Lewin taught there at MIT for over 4 decades. One of my favorite teachers, just amazing. He's taught me more than any other teacher, and I've never even made eye contact with the man. You can find all his videos here on YouTube. It's a physics education from MIT for free. Go check him out. Give him a big thank you. And yeah, so here we go. Walter Lewin on electricity.
Electricity and magnetism is all around us. We have electric lights, electric clocks, we have microphones, calculators, televisions, VCRs, radio, computers. Light itself is an electromagnetic phenomenon, as radio waves are. The colors of the rainbow in the blue sky are there because of electricity, and I will teach you about that in this course. Cars, planes, trains can only run because of electricity. Horses need electricity because muscle contractions require electricity. Your nerve system is driven by electricity. Atoms, molecules, all chemical reactions exist because of electricity. You could not see without electricity. Your heart would not beat without electricity. And you could not even think without electricity, though I realize that even with electricity, some of you may have a problem with that.
So there he is. If you only know the name, you know nothing. One of my favorite quotes by the man. Just a great teacher, folks. Go check him out if you have some time. It is a bit advanced. He does throw a lot of big math equations out and stuff like that. But there's so many gold nuggets in between, and if you just pay attention, you can grab a hold of some of those. So yeah, Walter Lewin here on YouTube. Just an amazing, amazing teacher. Go check him out. So to start this week off, Lucas had brought up plasma and something called the Geet engine. Now, Lucas has built one of these himself. He knows that it works. And this is old technology, I believe from the 70s, wasn't it? When Paul Pantone first came up with this, Lucas?
I'm not sure when yeah, but it is old, but I'm not sure exactly the date when he sort of released it.
But yeah,
but he was trying to do a commercial venture with them and do small generators, and that's got shut down, and I think he ended up in prison for a while.
Yeah, I think they got him on tax evasion, one of those. So It wasn't like he went out and robbed a bank or anything like that. He, what they can get anybody on at any time, they can make stuff up if they want. But yeah, he invented a way to use water to power things, and they can't have that. So yeah, he spent some time in prison, I'm pretty sure.
Well, in a sense, he basically added a refinery system to the fuel just before it hits the engine. So, and we'll show how that works.
Yeah, it's very simple, and he even says himself that he really doesn't fully understand what's going on. There's things taking place inside of this engine through plasma that. He says that it's almost creating new elements.
Yeah, like he's almost like pointing to this idea of transmutation, or this this way of breaking things down, and then they turn into something else in a sense. And I've pointed this kind of concept out before with there's another book called Biological Transmutations, and this is where sort of bacterias and things like that can actually convert elements into other elements in a sense. So there's some interesting things.
Absolutely.
There's a
Yeah.
little Lego man.
Yeah, this will be our first video. I figure I just start playing it and we can talk while he's going through. This is a Dan Dimension video. Have you ever seen this one, Let There Be Light? This was a real big one. When was it? Yeah, a few years ago. And he's playing with the different noble gases and just showing how they interact with an electromagnet. And how it really looks like daylight, and then it does some really crazy stuff, folks. There's lightning that takes place in these gases. But yeah, as you can see here, the color, this is just a sunrise, and you see the dark, and then it gets blue, and it goes all through the spectrum. You get your green in there, and then you'll start getting the yellows, the oranges, down to the red. And if you have
these just the noble gases?
Yes, these are all of the different noble gases here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's showing how they interact with the different gases, how electricity interacts. But the coolest part, he gets all the gases and puts them into tubes. In fact, I'm going to let Dan explain it here. This is pretty neat. Check this out. Actually, I don't think Dan does much talking in this. It's all at the bottom, so I'll quit messing with it at the bottom. He's showing right here how the ionized gas, I believe this is neon, the electromagnetic field actually pushes and pulls on the gas. Look at that.
Yep.
That's gas in a plasma state now. Look at that.
That's cool.
Isn't it? And it's not just pulling it, but it actually pushes it. You can see as he's going along the top, when he gives it a nice little push towards it, it bows away. And then here he has the Tesla coil with all the different gases. And this I thought was the coolest part. Yeah, pay attention to the colors here, especially the neon. So you have helium and neon in the first two tubes. And look at that. Doesn't that just look like the color of the sky?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh, that's cool. Really cool.
And then the lightning in a bottle with your argon, your xenon, and I forget the other one, krypton. So these are the 5 gases that make up, they tell us, about 1% of the atmosphere. And the sun is like the electromagnet, creating this huge magnetic field.
Yep.
And as you can see, as the sun's going around, it actually lights up these gases. This one's cool. You have your sun right here, and then as it gets away from it, you see the sky blues.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what you see. You have your red there, your blues. Yeah, I love that video. That totally blew my mind when he first put that out. Had you ever seen that one before?
No, I haven't seen that before, but I have said the same thing, that there is a that the electric field is basically lighting up the sky. Those elements, definitely the noble gases for sure, but even some of the halogens.
Oh yeah, it's not just the noble gases that do this. I wonder if all gas can be excited enough to turn to plasma.
Yeah, I'd assume so. Yep. It's just the state that it's in. So some might require more charge than others, but essentially once you get it into that state, they're going to act as a plasma.
Yeah, Dan, he's actually got a bunch of really cool videos about plasma and stuff like that. We have one more we're going to show from him here in a second. This next one, you guys have seen me talk about this guy already, the plasma channel, it's called. He does some really, really cool stuff with electricity, not just plasma, but he messes with all kinds of electrical tools and gizmos and gadgets. So, yeah, this isn't too long here. This will be just a few minutes. We won't go through the whole thing, but you got to hear how excited this guy is about plasma. I love this guy.
Now, one question that I've got quite frequently is why are some sparks purple and others are blue and some are pink and some are white? What causes that? In open air, an arc's color is an indication of what temperature it's burning at. So what determines temperature? Primarily current. 5 milliamps produces a faint purple spark. While ramping...
Yeah, just shout out if you want me to pause it anywhere, Lucas.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'll shout out, but it's definitely correct with the current. So current is analogous to heat as well.
Absolutely.
It up to 30 milliamps produces a hotter, bright yellow arc. And at half an amp, you're staring into a bright white sun. Cool stuff, huh? Now you know about colors. So next up, shape. Since we know that current now influences how hot the arc is, we also know how buoyant it is, and therefore how violently the arc is trying to rise up. At 5 milliamps, the plasma doesn't have quite enough heat to form a solid conductive channel. At 10 milliamps, you do have enough heat to start forming a conductive plasma channel, and you start to also have that apex that we love so much. At 30 milliamps and 4,000 degrees, you have a pronounced apex and a very strong plasma channel. And at 500, you have a 6,000 degree arc that cyclically shoots skyward and extinguishes itself.
Wow. And that's just at half an amp.
Yeah.
Or not even half an amp. Milliamp?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, oh Pete.
That's it's got high voltage as well, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just the current that's increased.
Did you see the size of those flames? I've never done this. I've seen this one time. We were being dumb. I was probably about 13. And we cut the end of a lamp cord off. And we were touching it together. And it fused itself together.
Yeah.
And yeah, we messed the carpet up so bad. Just, when you're young, you don't have your wits about you when things kind of go crazy like that. And instead of just unplugging it, we're blowing on it and, go get some water. Just being idiots about it. Yeah.
Not the water. Hell.
Yeah, just stupid. Real stupid. No, finally, somebody actually just pulled on the cord. And was like, guys, it's all right. Settle down. Yeah. But yeah, I've seen that one time. And yeah, I was scared. It's so bright. Like, see how it lights up everything there?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's amplifying the air, like we were talking about. It's actually...
Yeah, starting to do it on a lesser level. Yeah.
Right.
But it could be the camera as well. But
yeah,
definitely.
Wow, that is bright.
It's like a welding spark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
all right, let's see what else he's gonna say here.
Man, I love this stuff. So hopefully by now you're getting the idea that current strongly affects a lot of things about arcs. But now, let's talk about stability. Stability is how difficult it is to extinguish an arc. And the two main factors that I've found are, go figure, current, and then also frequency. Using a source with low current, you'll notice virtually no ability to stretch an arc. Once the distance is greater than what the voltage can jump across, the arc breaks. Increasing the current makes the arc more stable. This is because the conductive plasma stream is thicker, hotter, and expands out with the electrode as you remove it. Lastly, I've found that higher frequency arcs are more stable and harder to extinguish. Let me give you an example. This is that same 30 milliamp supply. It runs at 60 Hertz and is quite easy to extinguish. However, when you get upwards of 15 kilohertz, the plasma channel simply does not want to break. Okay, so we've talked about arc.
Okay. So even though the one was stronger, this one was 30 milliamps at 60 hertz, and this one was 10 milliamps at 15 kilohertz. So because he went down in the amperage, but because he turned up the frequency so high, it wouldn't break.
When I see this, what I usually think of is, when you have high frequency, the difference between high frequency and say bass in music. So when you have high frequency, that treble actually doesn't really travel. You'll go around a corner or something like that, and then all of a sudden you lose all your highs out of your music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you got the bass turned up, well, you can hear that anywhere, through walls and things like that. So in other words, treble sort of has a direct line, whereas bass wants to just filter out and go in all
Everywhere.
different places. Yeah. So I sort of look at that in the same sort of light, in a sense that he's increasing the treble, increasing the frequency, and it's much more direct. So it's not going to let go as quick. Whereas, if you've got a lower frequency, it's going to want to, it doesn't want to flow together really strongly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that
it'll
make
just-
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
just how I see it. Yeah. I try and bring these different elements together. So
Yeah. I
can
still have a
bring
lot
some-
to. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, just bring these elements together to have some sort of conceptual idea of what's happening.
Yeah, I still have a lot to learn on frequencies. Supposedly that's one of the big things about Tesla technology. Ken Wheeler did a couple videos on it and didn't, at least to me, to my comprehension, didn't really get into the Tesla technology too much. All he said was it was volts per second instead of the Hertzian cycles per second. So it's kind of and I think frequency has a lot more to do with it than Hertzian. Possibly.
Yeah, especially when you're getting into harmonics and things like that. So yeah, you're getting into those resonant frequencies and things start building on themselves. And also there's that idea of once you get the waves sort of moving together and not canceling out, then you're actually increasing the wave huge amounts just by that.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of research to do in the resonance frequency area, at least for me, for sure. But I'd like to definitely get into that in future videos. So let's get back to what he's talking about here. Let's see.
My favorite topic. And as you'd guess, current is the #1 player for determining what a spark looks like. These sparks run at about 1 amp. Take note of how wide the plasma stream is.
Wow. Okay. Did you see how far away he was?
Yeah.
That's what, maybe a foot? It's
Yep.
hard to tell,
Yeah,
but
maybe a bit under, but yeah.
this thing is very strong. To be able to jump out that far, 200,000 volts is like 4 inches,
Wow.
somewhere in there. So this thing really can put out a strong electric potential. Wow. I want one.
But this spark has about 10 amps in it. This spark is quantifiably thicker, and if you compare the two currents side by side, you'll see more current is more terrifying. Hopefully you learned something cool today.
I should have made a video on this. I didn't even think about it, but
And as
yeah, when you're shocking yourself, say this is your finger and you have it out,
Mm.
you will get small little shocks like that. The discharges will be thin. And then
Yep.
if you take your elbow, like you said, it's thicker. And because your elbow is thicker, it takes more amperage to penetrate it. It has more resistance. And the electrical discharges get really big. Like you can hear them in the other room big.
Oh wow. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. The difference in amperage, how much stronger the the discharge has to be to go through it.
Yeah, there's definitely an interesting interplay between voltage and current, and yeah, I sort of see them almost as polarities as well. I seem to look at things more like that, but there's um, this idea of voltage as being sort of on the outside, and also cold and dry, whereas you go to start getting into the current, then you're basically lowering resistance, and you're getting a lot more sort of flow in a sense, and yeah, the heat and all that sort of thing. So I just put them on two ends of the spectrum and view it that way, right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing with these spectrums we have. Even like the light spectrum. I believe Cammie and I were talking about this earlier in the week. They say human beings can only see 7% of the light spectrum, but do we know the full light spectrum? Do we really? Or is there just the amount of spectrum that we can measure as of so far?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there's always more out there, I believe, to discover, and the spectrum that we're within could still be a box. It is. What our knowledge is in a box.
Yeah, that sort of box idea where you sort of, that's what I try and do. I try and move myself out of the frameworks that I've sort of been given and put myself out of that framework. And that's why I like looking at older mythologies and things like that, because it's a different framework of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can sort of have something to compare to. But if you're sort of stuck in everything that you've been fed, you don't have this separate thing to look at. And I see it's almost like this idea of being highly intellectual and highly creative. Well, you want to be sort of swinging between the two of those concepts, where you allow yourself to be creative, make mistakes, and just have fun with it, while bringing it back and then analyzing sort of what you've done. So I try and do that, and allow myself to be creative and think about things in an alternate way.
Yeah, that's the best way to be.
Yeah,
It really is.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to, give themselves a break and allow themselves to be wrong sometimes, just to enjoy being creative at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good lesson. Now this one, I'm not sure if you saw this one. Did you happen to watch this video? These guys are creating a plasma ball in thin air with a femtosecond laser.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I did
gonna-
watch a little bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it muted. I'll let you hear it for 1 second, and you'll see why.
Yeah.
It's like that the whole time, so I'm just going to leave that off. But yeah, right there, they're creating a little plasma ball floating in the air. That kind of made me think of the sun, almost.
Yeah. Well, you could think of it that way. I have my problems with the idea of a projected sun, but yeah,
Well, what
definitely that.
about projected from inside? Maybe
Mm,
under the waters.
yeah, sort of have my problems with that too.
I know, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
the only
were
reason
taking
the
an
only reason I
electromagnetic
say that
field, you
the only
know.
reason I say that is because there still has to be some sort of interaction with matter. Um, that's and but that's a good example. That could prove my sort of theories definitely wrong. If someone could prove where these high end lasers are being kept and what's generating these lasers, but it's
Yeah.
a good example.
Yeah, it just shows you plasma can be created. We've comprehended how to create and control plasma to where we can even use it now, applicably.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then there's I think I sent you something a little while ago about cold plasma. So there's this also not just a hot plasma, but a cold plasma.
Yeah, and I really didn't comprehend what they were like, how it was created by what they were saying. It was hard to find anything really, how scientists like to talk. I don't think they comprehend it at all either. They're just using the big words that they learned at school and getting a paycheck.
Well, the main thing I was sort of pointing out was the nitrates involved with it to cool it down. So, yeah. But don't get me wrong. When I sort of view the sun, I do think there is a plasma, obviously, being formed, but I just don't think it's being
Projected
projected or some sort of
Yeah.
lasers somewhere. It doesn't. That seems very artificial, and
Yeah, I know you have some ideas on this, and we're kind of digging in a little bit deeper on this research. It will fit in with the whole battery concept, though. So next week we'll break it down a little bit, and then we're planning on doing a whole show on this one element that Lucas is really keyed into. And it's going to be cool, folks. You're going to enjoy it. So yeah, creating plasma with a laser just hanging out in the middle of the air. I thought that was a pretty cool one.
So that little ball is being projected to the wall there.
Yeah, let me bring that back up. One sec here.
Yes, and see that's another sort of little issue that I have with it, and is that if you're creating if you're creating a projection of the if the sun's a projection or created from some sort of natural setup like this, then it's going to basically have a focal point somewhere on the earth as well. So just a hot spot, burn and everything underneath it. That's just my ideas and my thoughts on it, but it's still very interesting, obviously.
Yeah, this was just one of the ways I wanted to show how we're comprehending how this stuff is. At least we can mimic creating it,
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you got to look at all different examples of how it's created and what people are doing with it for sure to get a better idea.
Now, you shared a really, really cool article with me. And it is just a Wikipedia article.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this thermohaline circulation.
Oh, yeah, the thermohaline circulation.
Yeah. And this is really interesting. I'd love to see it on a AE map down here.
You know what it would do? Just turn into a circle.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking too.
And it would just go the same way as the sun.
And look at how it's all going around
Yeah,
Antarctica in one direction. I mean, yeah, it would be just going around the outside in one direction.
yeah. Yeah, I wish I could find a picture of it for the flat Earth map sort of thing, and you'd see it exactly the same as how you see the air currents and things. Just you see it on the ball and it's all squiggly, and then you put it on a flat map and it's just going around in a circle. So the same thing with this thermohaline circulation, or what else they call it, the oceanic conveyor belt.
Yeah,
So it's basically moving your waters around, and it's cycling because of heat. And if you could see that this was moving around in a circle, then you would say, well, where the sun's going, it's basically heating the waters. The other thing that the sun does that's interesting is that when the waters expand, more salt can actually permeate into that warmer water. And then once it cools down, well, you've got a higher density in those waters, and then the waters start to fall back down. So it's actually doing this sort of loop as it goes over too,
yeah,
bringing up the salts and cycling it around.
yeah. It's not just going around the Earth, but it's actually going down into the depths and bringing water out, and it's like a refining it almost. It's cleansing it, keeping it moving.
Yeah, keeping it moving, but it's also bringing, and I've said the same sort of similar processes are happening in liquid as well as air, where you're getting this movement of elements, and not just the salts. You could have lots of different types of salts, but it's almost like it's helping keep the system stable by having an even amount of elements moving around constantly. So you're not getting a buildup of, a certain type of salt, or certain, too hot here, or, it's keeping it in an equilibrium. And that sort of matters in a sense of keeping a constant power generation as well, when you look at the world as that sort of battery idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does it all on its own. It doesn't need any external help. The system, the way it works, does this naturally.
Yeah, that's right. And it's moving things around naturally, just via the sun mainly. Working, the output of the sun is working on the system to actually move things around to power itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And here is I didn't mention the name of the last channel. I apologize for that. This is Soren Dan Engel. 19 subscribers, but this had almost 7,000 views from 2014. This is really cool, and it kind of shows how a plasma, if the sun is a plasma, which it looks like it, at least, how it would affect the water currents just by passing over the top of it. And kind of what we're talking about, how much the sun actually does affect the currents of the ocean. Now watch this when he brings this plasma torch down over the top. It almost looks like a tornado there, doesn't it? From the bottom.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. Yeah.
And you get these swirling rotations. Now I know the plasma is actually touching the water here. But I mean, really,
You'd think heat would do very similar if it was focused like that too.
yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was so cool. Look at the tornado. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just mystified, folks. That's why I'm not saying anything. Every time I watch this, my jaw drops, and I'm just like, what is going on here? But it shows how plasma, it's affecting all the world around it. I could just imagine what this is doing to the air.
Yeah.
If you look at the air currents, they're all going in one direction, and then right around the equator where the sun moves, the air currents are going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, creating that, the sort of vortexing on both sides. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a neat video. All these are in the description if you guys want to go check them out later. But yeah, I thought that was but that goes back to the whole thermohaline circulation system and kind of how it works. I bet you could really do some cool stuff if you change the water and, added some peaks and valleys and whatnot.
Yeah. And yeah, the sunlight's definitely energizing the waters and lifting it up. And I have said previously that chlorine is the main driver of the sun, from applying the battery type ideas to it. So chlorine and the production of hydrogen, as well as the sulfate. So yeah, it's all sort of ties together in that way.
Wow. All right, that's the last time, folks. I won't make you watch it anymore. I just love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And yeah, I'm definitely going to have to play. I want to get a plasma cutter eventually one of these days. Man, they are neat. So let's see. We got a couple more videos for y'all here. Oh, speaking of the plasma cutter, this is a real short video that just kind of shows you just what plasma can actually do, how strong it is, how hot it is, I should say, how intense. This is just a quick video, minute 22. This channel is Miller Welders. I've watched a lot of videos from this guy. Very good at welding. If you're into anything like that, yeah, just a great channel. Very, very knowledgeable on the whole topic of welding and yeah, he's got a really nice plasma cutter here. So yeah, check this out. These things are insane.
What is plasma cutting? Okay, so plasma is the utilization of electricity to expand an ionized gas through space to create heat. Now, plasma cutting is utilizing this heat, plasma, the fourth stage of matter, to come up to a temperature that will cut directly through metals. So how plasma cutting systems work is they utilize compressed air or compressed gases such as nitrogen to ionize to create plasma. Typically, these gases are fed through the back of the machine, go into the system, and when they make contact with the electrode, they ionize and create more pressure. As soon as they build pressure and ionize, they push out a stream or column of pure plasma. At its finest point, it is hot enough to cut directly through materials. The torch holds the consumable electrodes housed inside the retention cup where the gas ionizes.
Okay. Yeah, there. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I want to do that.
That's a cool little video there, that little image
Yeah.
swirling around.
Yeah, I want to play with one of these. If not have my own, I definitely want to play with one. But they do make metal work so much easier. Yeah, watch how fast. And did you see how clean the cut was here?
Yeah.
This is just ridiculous. And how curved it was and everything. To do this with a grinder, look at that. Man, I want one of those. You could do some serious stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how to weld. It's always been one of my things where I was, yeah, never got into it enough to, or practiced enough,
Yeah, I have a welder. I've played with welding.
With me, it's just nails and wood, cut it with a handsaw. Yeah.
No, A. McKinsey. I went down there and built him a garden down in Florida. And yeah, he taught me how to weld. He's good. He actually welded on commercial, the big cruise liners and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you know how to do it.
Real big, thick steel, couple inches thick type stuff. So yeah, he knew what he was doing. But yeah, it's not hard. Once you kind of get the hang of it, it's more like a fear than anything else, really.
Yeah, just getting used to what's happening for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, if anybody is interested in welding or anything like that, this is one of the good channels that I would recommend. Miller Welders. Link will be down there in the description. Now we're gonna get to the meat and the meat and potatoes
Okay.
of today's show here. The Geet engine. This is what brought about this whole conversation on plasma. And Lucas has actually built one of these himself. So I'm going to show a quick video here real quick. And then let him kind of explain what the guy was saying. But this is the actual gentleman who came up with it. Is that right? He invented
he's the
this motor.
Yeah, he's the inventor. Yep.
Link will be in the description. It's just a real quick video here.
A plasma generator, similar to a super carburetor, that actually appears to run on 80% water and is entirely non-polluting.
This device replaces the carburetor and exhaust and combines them as one unit, whereas this end of it acts as a miniature refinery, allowing the engine to run on everything from battery acid and water mixed to crude oil right out of the ground. This is Angola crude, a 39.5 gravity.
Only used to prime the engine.
The exhaust coming down goes around and comes out here at the far end. The center chamber draws some of the heat from the exhaust, plus this tube takes some of the exhaust gases, takes them up into the chamber and bubbles them down to the bottom. The bubbles, as it comes through the fuel, are brought up to the top of the chamber, picked up through a tube, and fed up the center of the exhaust pipe. While they're being fed up the exhaust pipe, they are in a vacuum, and there's a heat exchange which occurs. This process has been argued a few times to be either a plasma field, an electro field. We do know that it does have a slight radiation, which is not alpha, beta, or gamma. We do have x-rays to show that whatever is coming from the unit does get affected different from stainless steel than the regular steel. Go. When the temperature of the exhaust is the same as the air temperature going in from the air portion up here, normally 3% more oxygen coming out of the tailpipe than there is in the air we're breathing.
That's insane.
And no carbon at all.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
I wouldn't say vanishes, I would say transmuted into some other substance, a lighter element, because we have an abundance of lighter elements here that are not explained from down here. But during the heat process, there are molecular changes.
After running this engine from 19...
No, this is crazy. Listen to this, folks.
Until now, and many times we had it running eight and a half hours a day, we have never had to change the spark plug, change the oil, or clean it. We have taken the head off 3 times to inspect the inside of it, and it's been spotless.
There you go.
Yeah, that's just amazing. So was this the whole reason you built your engine? Was it this?
Yep, pretty much seen that and started looking into how he built it and what was the specs, and watched another bunch of videos on other people doing it and thought, well, this might be my ticket out, to have free energy, get off the power and be independent that way. So yeah, I basically got a small, I think it was a little 2.5 horsepower petrol engine, and yeah, just used sort of plumbing pipes and had help from a auto mechanic sort of guy, and he was able to do a little bit of welding and things for me. And it's not quite this, wasn't quite the same as that. It was probably a bit more rudimentary, but yeah, it worked. So when I first got it going, I just put fuel in it, just to make sure that the actual system would work, and then it ran no worries with the just the normal petrol. So it was still working like a normal engine with the setup that I had. And then I thought, oh well, bugger it, I may as well see if he was telling the truth. And I put a couple of cups of water in, and yeah, lo and behold, it actually seemed to work better when it had the water in it.
Yeah, like cleaner almost. It didn't have to work as hard. Yeah,
it was really interesting because you could actually get them to the engine to idle really low. So it sort of indicated that it had more power.
Yeah, cleaner ignition.
Yeah, just had more punch to it. So you could actually idle like a what would normally stall with a petrol engine. It was idling much lower. So it was really interesting. And I'd just put any old things I had laying around, a bit of old oil and Coke, and yeah, just chuck anything in it.
Well, yeah, there's people putting coffee and running these things, and this is there's so many videos on YouTube, folks. You have to go check out. Just type in Geet engine, GEET, and 3% more oxygen came out than actually was put into the motor.
So if you can bring up the schematic, I'll sort of talk a little bit through it if you like, and
let me grab that.
Give people an idea what the internals look like and how it actually operates. Now it is a fairly finicky, especially when you're doing it at home. It is actually sort of fairly finicky to get the vacuum and the amount of fuel and so. But yeah, it does work. Yeah, just that image. Yep, that one there. Yeah,
hold on a sec. I don't know what I'm gonna try to make it bigger for you. Let me go back to where I was. What did I do here?
There's a bigger one, but it was just sideways. Hey.
There we go.
Yeah.
Let me jump back here. Whoa. I'm not sure which one it was. Are you still seeing this?
Yeah.
There we go. Let me zoom in on this page. There we go. That's what I wanted to do.
Yep. All right. So essentially what's happening is you've got the fuel intake, and the intake that's going into the engine has a metal rod in it. So the gases come from the bubbler, which is, you see on the end there with the brown, that's the bubbler. So the gases are pulled in from that, go through the intake and spin around this metal rod. It's just usually just a a mild iron rod, as long as it has magnetism to it. And then it goes into the engine. Now, the exhaust from the engine goes around the outside of the intake, and then the exhaust goes, some of it goes out, but some of it goes back into the bubbler and bubbles through that liquid fuel. So what essentially is happening, you've got your liquid fuel and some of the hot exhaust gases are bubbling through it and heating it up and turning it into a gas. And then once it got from the gas, it goes through the intake and then starts spinning around this spinning magnetic rod. And then the exhaust gases are actually heating that tube up. So what you're getting when the piston draws down, you're creating a vacuum in the whole system. You've got a magnetic field from the spinning rod, and then the gases then are heated and turned into a plasma.
Okay, I'm seeing it now. All right.
So essentially, you've got three things that are sort of operating that create the plasma, and that's the heat, the low pressure, and then a magnetic field.
Now,
So-
does it need to be at an angle, the tube here, like he had it?
Oh, going up into the engine?
Yeah,
No,
how he had it like
I just had mine straight,
okay.
sort of level. Yeah. So it doesn't need to be, but yeah, that's the main concept. Is you're lowering the pressure, and when you lower the pressure on a liquid or something, and you can boil water at a lower temperature when you have a lower pressure. So the same sort of principle, you're lowering the pressure in the system by that piston moving downwards and creating a vacuum, and then the gases will find it easier to get excited into that next state. And then you've got the magnetic field, which helps generate that as well. And then the heat starts to give it another sort of push it over the edge sort of thing. So that's how you're getting the plasma.
Now,
Now,
did you? Oh, go ahead.
Go.
I was just going to say, is this the plan that you used right here? Does this look like the PDF? This looks really, I mean, it tells you everything you need down to everything. It tells you what tools.
The length. Yep. I use one of them or one similar to that for sure.
Wow.
But he's got another one that's for cars and things like that.
And it doesn't look like anything too super complicated either. There's nothing in there that looks like it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to get.
Oh, no. I did mine on just with like plumbing pipes and things like that.
Yeah, it looks like hardware store. Yeah, it looks like stuff you can buy at the hardware store.
As long as you can keep that vacuum, and manipulate the vacuum and everything sort of sealed where you want it to be, it should be fine. If you have leakages, then you're not going to get the lower pressures and it's not going to function. But the rod is sort of almost like a backwards bullet. So one end sort of rounded off, and then that bar, you can hear that bar start spinning up inside it. Now, that is a fairly rudimentary design. I mean, if if a proper company or someone actually started building those, you could get them so that everything was in sort of a well made, and that bar would actually just float as the gases move around it. So it's really just the fuel's really there in a lot of ways, just for the initial startup and that initial spark. But once it's running and getting up to temperature, then the plasma forms. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The process is going to take place.
Yeah.
Yeah. This, I would just wanted to show people some of the It's all pretty much stuff you can go buy at, your local hardware store.
Yeah, and the other thing is you've got to keep that the bubbler there. You can see it bubbling away. You've actually got to keep that fuel to a certain amount. So if you start increasing or decreasing the fuel, then you're making it harder or for the gases to get pumped through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's basically pushing all that hot exhaust into it, and you're basically using every single bit of that fuel that's getting used, that's in there. And the other one that's really interesting is they had one of these, and they'd shut off the exhaust. So you're just like, how is this thing even still running? There's no exhaust coming out. It's only got an intake, and yet it's still running. So it's doing some really interesting things in that sort of way. I mean, imagine having a car with no exhaust. I mean, that's just strange.
Yeah, it's kind of how it should be,
Yeah, yeah. But that they say the same thing, that most of the fuel that you're putting into your car is going out the tailpipe. It's not getting burnt, and even like there's a simpler sort of where you're not turning into a plasma, but all you're using is the heat from the exhaust to heat up the fuel before it goes into the intake. And because you're getting the fuel into a vapor beforehand, you're getting super amounts of efficiency, because a lot of the time the liquids actually won't burn. You need it into a vapor state before it can burn. So that's why a lot of it goes out the tailpipe. And that's what they say anyway. So
yeah, there are so many people on YouTube that are have done this stuff.
There's other ones where they put a little eyelet in there, and you can actually see the plasma. So that they'll put a little eyelet where you can look through, and you'll see it sort of different colors of the plasma. So it's a field that really needs to be expanded, and and people creating sort of standalone generators or whatever it is, and really working with this sort of stuff and bringing it to the forefront.
Absolutely. This guy's got a Chevy V8 with a weed eater carb.
Yeah. And I've applied the same principle of this plasma formation to our sun as well. So basically you have lower pressures in the atmosphere, not quite a vacuum, obviously, but you have lower pressures. You have the heat from the sun. So that would be, your exhaust. And then you have a magnetic field from the ionization itself. So those three principles seem to have the, you could apply them to how our sun operates as well. So I just found that fascinating.
Yeah, it all ties back into it. All this stuff. It seems like the more you really dive into a topic, the more you find out where we got these ideas from nature already.
Yeah, it's all there. The more I look at sort of the world around us, I see most of our technology comes from the heavens. So, if not all.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen this one? I didn't throw this one in the description, folks.
Yeah, I put that in a video I did. And this is the guy that turns the exhaust off.
Yeah, to where there's no exhaust at all and the engine runs fine.
I think he took it. He says he took it to the EPA or something, and they just didn't want to hear about it. He's like, "What? Don't you care about pollution? This one doesn't have an exhaust."
Let's see here.
Did it shut off? Is it still running?
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts.
No exhaust and it's still running. Yeah, just imagine, folks. Wow, he's even just clogging it up.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Ah. Yep. Oh, see, one of these days, soon, folks, it's coming, I think. All this stuff is going to be released.
Yeah, well, I just think it has to get to
The bubbling point. We need that
yeah, like
crucial. Yeah.
the 100th monkey kind of thing, or
Mhm.
whatever it is, because all these things tie together. The flat Earth, and the technologies, and moving away from their system based on fiat currency and all that sort of thing. So it's all one concept that sort of needs to be, moved towards getting out of their system. And yeah, it's all there. All the information's there. It's just a matter of enough people sort of wanting that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, and they hide it so well that so many people don't even know it's a possibility. So that's why we
Yeah,
really need to keep pushing this kind of stuff, letting people know that we have these options here.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, that's right. They need to be aware that these things do exist, and yeah, getting it out, and more people just making it. I mean, it's great.
Well, I just dropped the link in chat, folks. If you guys want to come on and ask any questions or share some information about plasma and what we've been talking about, or if you have any questions, you can just drop them in the chat. I'm sorry I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat too much as of late, watching for questions. It's different when you're running the show. It is. You can't do stuff like that so much, especially when you're showing all the different videos and whatnot. But yeah, if you did ask any questions and we didn't answer them, I apologize. But if you throw them up again right here, we'll stick around for a few minutes, see if anybody wants to jump in or has any questions. Now would be the time to ask.
Yeah, jump on. Say good day.
So what do you got plans for this upcoming week? Any working on any new videos or any new music or anything?
Still working on some music. No, I haven't really thought it. I only release videos when I feel that impelled to. Or
When
feel
the muse calls.
Yeah, exactly. I've sort of, and a lot of the times I'll have a bunch of sort of concepts I'm sort of dwelling over for ages, and then I'm just like get frustrated, and then all of a sudden I just punch out a video real quick. But it's almost like you have a messy room for long enough, and then all of a sudden you're like, right, I got to clean this thing. Just gets So that's what happens to me when I'm making videos. So sometimes you get tons, sometimes you get nothing.
So do you know who David Lapointe is?
No.
Ancient Indian guru in chat asked what happened to David Lapointe. I am not aware of that person either. I am sorry, Ancient Indian guru. Just not familiar with that name. Oh, yeah, that was fun. That was a good week. I learned quite a bit.
Yeah. I've been talking to Benjamin Balderson a fair bit, like trying to, deal with this sort of mythology and elements and things. It's just one of those, the elemental concepts are such an interesting thing to me, and I don't think I'm definitely there at the, trying to get into these older ideas of, or their frame of reference. And it's sort of difficult because, growing up in the way we have, it's really hard to put it into their framework. So just sort of playing with ideas until you get a little inch by inch closer to understanding what they were talking about in their way.
Yeah, it's like it's not even so much a different language as it is. I don't even know how to.
Yeah, it's a conceptual framework that
Mhm.
they're dealing with, and it's been sort of pushed off as pseudoscience and things like that. But I really don't see it that way at all. And especially when you start seeing some of the videos that people make where they are showing the older architecture and things like that, and it's like, well, these guys aren't silly people if they're creating things of that magnitude and that that much beauty and that much
Skill.
understanding of mathematics is imbued in a building. It's you're not dealing with simple people there. It's not horse and cart type people. So that's why I'm trying to revert back in some sense to their ideas, because I find them fascinating.
Yeah, I don't think we've really scratched the surface
Oh no, not at all.
of, even with all this kind of stuff that we've been looking at today, and some of the tech we've covered in the last couple videos. That's still not even scratching the surface of what knowledge has been, lost or hidden, if you prefer.
And even the ways they seem to write things, like this, they tell stories that have scientific qualities to them. And I find that, that's really the linking of this intellectual and creative at the same time. It's really a firm grasp of how to be creative and intellectual at the same time. And, I find that really a balanced way of, trying to convey information as well. So, I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any
Well,
questions? No?
Nope, I didn't see any more.
Okay.
Just asking about David Lapointe. I'm gonna have to check him out, see who he is. He says he used to make a lot of videos on plasma and stuff like that. And he
Wow.
had stuff about the dome, and yeah, he hasn't put out any videos for about a year. And no, I'd never come across him. I probably could have seen some of his videos. A lot of these videos that these people were putting out, they had lots of views, but they didn't have a lot of subscribers, it seemed like.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them did, but some of them had very few subscribers. Let's see, this one was, oh no, that's quite a bit. I'm not sure. I saw one that was only like 100 and something or here you go, 28 subscribers, but it has 52,740 views.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you'd have a few more than 28.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that, play with this stuff that maybe it has something to do with censorship. This is that kind of stuff they don't want us sharing with each other. And it's not just flat Earth. They do it with everything.
Yeah. Yep, they do. They're trying to stop it.
They want to put us all in a little box, don't they?
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, yeah, that was fun, Lucas. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, mate.
I am really enjoying these. And they're just getting more and more, we're getting our groove, I think, a little bit here. We're starting to cut into the record a little bit here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, we're getting through some topics and looking at different things, and it's hopefully people are following along and learning, and hopefully we can get more input from what any questions they have. We can try and answer them, and they can bring new things to us too. So.
Yeah, I've learned so much from you guys asking me questions and just giving me ideas. Like
Yeah.
some of my greatest ideas came from questions that you guys asked me. You know, they were your ideas. You just passed them on to me. And yeah, I love those. One of my favorites is Ryan Q. Vincent. He's been with me from the beginning. And yeah, that guy, he is not scared to share his opinion. And I love that. He's given me so many thoughts of testing out new things. And many people have, don't get me wrong, but he's one of them that really pops out, who's been there the whole time. And just about every video where I'm testing something or playing with something, he chimes in and says, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? What happens when you do this? You know, those are the things I love. I learned so much from you guys that way. So please, yeah, if you guys have anything, no question is stupid. None of them.
Mm-hmm.
The only dumb question is the one that you are too scared to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I feel the same way. I like all these different questions. And that's what I try and do in myself as well, is like just constantly ask questions, because it's not necessarily the answer that's the most important thing. It's all the questions that go around it. You know what I mean? Yeah, constantly asking yourself questions about things is 90% of how you get there.
Yeah. There's a cool comment in chat. Eric Jorgensen. Sorry if I misspelled your last name there. Very cool. I like it. Gerald Pollock student discovered you can make exclusion zone water with an infrared light source, structured negatively charged liquid water.
That was in the cell, wasn't it? He's talking about in biological cells, I think. Yeah, they call it EZ water. And yep, I can send you something on that, Zach.
Very
Definitely.
cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Eric. Awesome. Well, alrighty, guys. I love y'all so much. Thank you for joining us. Lucas, it was a pleasure, man. I can't wait to see what you teach me this week.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well,
All
folks, we're going to end it like we do here on this show, with Walter Lewin explaining to his students for the very first time how important electricity is, and really kind of just scratches the surface on what it, controls and at least has a part of. So here's Walter Lewin, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you all for joining us again. Love y'all. Lucas, you're the man. I'll talk to you this week.
Awesome.
Well,
Thanks,
I'll talk
guys.
to you after the show. So,
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. Good times for all here signing out. As always, thanks for watching.
Electricity and magnetism is all around us. We have electric lights, electric clocks, we have microphones, calculators, television, VCRs, radio, computers. Light itself is an electromagnetic phenomenon, as radio waves are. The colors of the rainbow in the blue sky are there because of electricity, and I will teach you about that in this course. Cars, planes, trains can only run because of electricity. Horses need electricity because muscle contractions require electricity. Your nerve system is driven by electricity. Atoms, molecules, all chemical reactions exist because of electricity. You could not see without electricity. Your heart would not beat without electricity. And you could not even think without electricity, though I realize that even with electricity, some of you may have a problem with that.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tack. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university, where they were put in boxes and they came out all the same. And there's doctors and there's lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And they all play on the golf course and drink their martinis dry. They all have pretty children. The children go to school, and the children go to summer camp, and then to the university, where they are put in boxes. They come out all the same. And the boys go into business and marry and raise a family in boxes made of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same.